Hey, y'all,
Welcome to Two Babes in a Book with Liz.
and Rach. In every episode, we give a quick summary, our thoughts, and content ratings for each book to help you decide if it's the right fit for you. Keep listening for a complete book discussion. Don't worry, we give you a heads up before any spoilers.
Be sure to leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And feel free to follow us on Instagram at Two Babes and a Book. For today's book banter, we will be discussing the book by Shari Franke. I continue to read my script, which was like the wrong thing to do. Um, but we recently read, and Rachel got me hooked on this because this was a surprise episode, by the way.
Yes,
We weren't
sure.
planning on doing an episode on this. The title of the book is The House of My Mother by Shari Franke. Did
Mhm.
I get the title right?
Yeah, there's a subtitle, The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom. And
Oh,
then
that
Sherry
sounds really
Frankie.
good. So, The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom
Hmm.
by Shari Franke, who is Ruby Franke's oldest daughter. And Rachel's going to tell us a little bit about this book and the background for those people who have not heard about the infamous Ruby Franke
Yes. Ooh.
case. Ooh,
Okay.
chills.
It chills, I know. From eldest daughter Sherry Frankie, the shocking true story behind the viral 8 passengers family vlog and the hidden abuse she suffered at the hands of her mother, and how, in the face of unimaginable pain, she found freedom and healing. Sherry Frankie's childhood was a constant battle for survival. Her mother, Ruby Frankie, enforced a severe moral code while maintaining a facade of a picture perfect family for their wildly popular YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, which documented the day to day life of raising 6 children for a staggering 2.5 million subscribers. But a darker truth lurked beneath the surface. Ruby's wholesome online persona masked a more tyrannical parenting style than anyone could have imagined. As the family's YouTube notoriety grew, so too did Ruby's delusions of righteousness. Fueled by the sadistic influence of relationship coach Jody Hildebrandt, together they implemented an inhumane and merciless disciplinary regime. Ruby and Jody were arrested in Utah in 2023 on multiple charges of aggravated child abuse. On that fateful day, Sherry shared a photo online of a police car outside their home. Her caption had one word: finally. For the first time, Sherry will reveal the disturbing truth behind 8 Passengers and her family's devastating involvement with Jody Hildebrandt's cultish life coaching program, Connections. No stone is left unturned as Sherry exposes the perils of influencer culture and shares for the first time her battle for truth and survival in the face of her mother's cruelty. And this was just published January of this year. So very timely with also the documentary that just came out that we also separately watched that we didn't tell each
Mhm.
other we were both watching.
Did you read the book first and then watch the documentary?
No, it was the documentary. And then I was like, I felt like I needed closure. So I had to read the book, which I'm glad I did because there's a lot more hope in the book.
Yes, and it was so fascinating to hear her perspective because
Mhm.
you don't know her very well at all. I mean, she is one of the narrators in the documentary,
Yeah.
but it was fascinating because it was centered on Ruby, which this book is too, but like this book is about her personal experiences and some more events that happened in her Sherry's life.
Yeah.
So I felt like the book supplemented the documentary so well.
Me too. Yeah. I felt it was really good. Were there any parts of the documentary you had to fast forward?
Oh, okay. When I watched it, I was like, I need to talk to Rachel about this. Like, I literally thought of you just because I wanted to talk to you about it, but I was
Yes.
like, there's no way Rachel would watch this. It's too dark.
I'm surprised that I
Because like
watched it.
even I was like, oh, this is icky. And unfortunately I got like really into it and watched 2 or 3 episodes Sunday after church, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
this was not a good Sunday activity. Because I was just like a
Oh,
little unsettled, you
yeah.
know? I was like, I should have been studying my scriptures or listening to church
Oh,
music to feel better. Because it's like there are a few episodes where it's just yucky because they talk
mhm.
about how like Jody was possessed by demons. Yeah, I did not fast forward anything, but there were like a few video images and like things that they said that were like
Mhm.
really dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So I was watching so many parts on TikTok that I was like, I just have
Oh,
to do
you knew it was
it.
coming.
Yeah. So I had already seen the scene of Jody Hildebrandt. Like, there's no, she was not being possessed. She just was crazy,
That's why I wanted to
and
ask you if you
manipulative.
feel like, yeah.
I don't think so. I think she was very smart and very manipulative, and that she was pretending. But um I fast forward through that because I was like, ooh, this gives me the heebie-jeebies. And then some of the other parts that I saw when they like had like found the kids in St. George and stuff like that. So I had already seen snippets and I was like, I've already seen this. I can just fast forward, but I watched the whole documentary in a day. Like I had to do it so that I just, you know, was done. But then I had a hard time sleeping. So I probably shouldn't have
Yes.
hindsight.
Don't binge watch the whole thing because you would have like
Uh,
fever dreams or you'd have like nightmares or a hard time
they were
going to
like
sleep.
fever dreams. Like I kept
It's that
thinking
kind
about
of
it.
unsettling. Yeah, I watched it over time, maybe like 3 or 4 sittings. I watched it, but like I finished the last 2 or 2.5 episodes like in one day, and that kind of
Mhm.
affected me,
I
even
think
just
it's
two or three
only
episodes.
3 episodes total. So it's not
Oh, that's
very
true.
long, but yeah.
No, it's not. Yeah, I can't remember. I couldn't remember, sorry. And they were like each episode's like an hour,
Yeah.
I think,
Mhm.
or
Or a
it's a
little less.
good,
Like it's not too bad. It's not very long. But yeah,
yeah,
it's
because I remember sometimes it would take me a while to get through one episode.
uh-huh.
Like kids coming home or whatever, or having to do things
Oh
like had to
yeah.
pause. But
I had to watch it on my phone. That helped a lot because I felt like I was more in control. It wasn't as like in my
yes, that's true. Yep, I
so
watched it on my phone too.
yeah, it's helpful.
Okay, so would you recommend to the listeners to watch the documentary and then read the book, or like watch like do both
Oh,
things, or would you just tell them just read the book? I don't know. Would you recommend the documentary? It's hard to say.
yeah, because I feel like the documentary provided some good context and it just kind of added to the book. Like I
I
would say
felt like it was really well done,
yeah,
too, honestly.
the
And there was an
documentary.
yeah, the documentary was well
Mhm.
done. The book was really good too. But I feel like there's an older documentary that's shorter about Ruby Franke and Jody. I think it's through Hulu as well, and it just this one is so
Oh,
much better. Yeah, I
uh-huh.
watched the older one like last year or something.
Uh-huh.
Because I guess there was a niece of Jody that went to stay with her for a little bit, and so the niece was like sharing her experience with
Oh
staying
man.
with her aunt and how awful it
It was
was.
probably the same.
And so she's not in the newer documentary, but it was really interesting to have like Kevin and Shari and Chad talk
Hmm.
about like they're kind of the narrators throughout the whole documentary. So which was really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I
How
found
how
it
do
really
you feel about the dad? Like a lot of he's getting
I
so much hate online. Like
yeah.
he's just as guilty as Ruby. Like, do you feel like he's just as at fault, or do you feel like he was just brainwashed or a weak man and that he is capable of having his raising his kids?
I feel I'm very torn because I recognize parts of my husband in Kevin, that's his name, right? Like I feel like there's this kindness that he had and this like just wanting to do like, what his wife wants. But I want to believe, and I do believe that my husband, if I was doing stuff like that to my kids, he would be like, no, like this is too much. In fact, I know he would because if he can tell that I'm getting like way too riled up, he's like, okay, you go chill, you go sit down, like, so I think he would recognize it. But like, but they're just the way that Kevin talks reminds me of my husband, just like very gentle, like, level, stuff like that. But I can't imagine that my husband would just leave the family if I said go, like,
And not contact the kids at all.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing that's hard for me is I was like, it was a full year. And
Hmm.
the neighbors were texting him or reaching out to him and he would like block them or ignore
Yeah.
them. And that was weird to me. That's the only like super red
Yeah.
flag is I was like, why didn't you check on your kids? Or like,
Yeah.
because I think one of the neighbors texted him saying, "There's cop cars outside your house," or um, cops came to, or was like Child Protective Services came to visit or something. I
Hmm.
think, and they texted him to let him know, but like he never responded. I think that's what one of the neighbors said. And I was like, how could he not respond to something like that where it involves the potential safety of his kids? Like he didn't have much
Exactly.
background. He was just so black and white with like, Ruby told me not to contact them and work on myself, so I have to stick to that, like no matter what.
Right. Yeah, that just that
And he
to
couldn't fathom
me,
at all that the kids would be in any type of danger. Like that was
yeah.
not in the realm of his like his brain was like, that is not even a possibility. But if my neighbors said the cops or CPS like went to my home, like I would at least ask Shari to go or reach out to Chad and can you go to the house or
Right.
something or talk to the neighbors and be like, I don't know. But like just not responding. I didn't understand
Yeah.
that he
But
didn't respond.
also you wouldn't let but just everything that they did, like, and I don't know if we should, if there should be spoilers for this. I don't know. It's kind of all been out in the public, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe we'll just put at the beginning, like, there are spoilers.
In
Um,
this episode. Yeah.
yeah. But like, he let Jody move in. He let his wife move in with Jody in the same house. Like, I know that it's that whole analogy of like the boiling frog, like you put a pot in a
Yeah.
thing of water and like eventually they're boiled to death. There's that. But like, I don't know. I just can't imagine that. I can't go into that situation and be like, oh, I can kind of see it. Like, but then Shari talks about it in the book how she was brainwashed too. Like she was so like Jody was so good at manipulating people, and she had done this to multiple families. Actually, my mom mentioned that there's a woman in her relief society, her son and his wife were going to Jody Hildebrandt, and yeah, in
Really?
Utah.
Like all, oh, in Utah.
In Utah, and before this all happened, and like what Jody does is she separates you from your family. So I want to say that he stopped talking to his mom. Maybe that's what it was. And his mom was trying to like contact church authorities because people used to recommend Jody to like bishops used to recommend Jody like
She was on that list where
yes.
bishops got like mental health providers, and she was on the
Hmm.
list.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so like my mom's friend like tried to like get a hold of them and we're like, this is not okay. Like she's splitting up families. This is not good. And then all this stuff came out and she wrote a letter, I think, to church headquarters and was like, I told you so. Like I told you that this woman was crazy and that she's manipulating people. So I think she was really good at what she did. And so but at the same token, I feel like as a man, you should be protecting your children. And obviously, the really bad abuse didn't happen until he left the house. But like, how?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, he didn't, nothing physically extreme was happening as far as discipline. I mean, people could
Some
argue
stuff.
that fact, but as far as like the abuse that was happening at the very end before they
Right.
were arrested, like that was not happening in their
Yeah.
home when he left. But that whole year, like the downward spiral that
Yeah.
Ruby was on, the trajectory that she was on with Jody, like she was already going downhill. Like I think it
Yeah.
just got worse and worse. And he was not there for any of that. Like he was
Mm-mm.
completely MIA. Um,
Yeah.
and it was interesting what Shari said, how she felt like her mom always had these tendencies, like underlying tendencies, kind of
Hmm.
abusive things happening, and that Jody just like amplified it. And
Yeah.
like you put the brainwashing as part of it and the ultimate justification
The
of
moral
doing
high
horrific
grounds of
things.
it. Hmm.
Yes. The like divine calling of taking care of situations like that, like getting rid
Right.
of demons in your children. Like it was just bizarre. Yeah, and it's so hard to
Yeah.
fathom like how do you get to that point
Right.
where they were.
Well, and
So,
it's Sherry talking about how Ruby was already physical. Like, remember, there's a part in the book where she talks about how she like helped Chad like clean blood off the wall after like the mom had like like smacked him or broke like hurt his nose or something like that.
That was shocking.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like, Kevin like should have known. Like he should have seen my wife is doing stuff like this. Like that's not okay, you know? Like there should not be blood on your wall from your wife's or from your mom smacking you, you know? Like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
obviously it wasn't to the same extent, but yeah, it was underneath.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So
Yeah, because you could, it was, the documentary was fascinating because they gathered like a bunch of footage that was never posted on Eight Passengers as
yeah.
well. So you could
Hmm.
like see the bloopers. You could see her like screaming at her family,
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I'm recording," like
Yeah.
you could like see the rage in her face, and then you could see her discipline the younger kids a little bit when they were acting out.
Yeah.
And so maybe he just thought, okay, she's really stern sometimes, but she's not like
Mhm.
abusive. Like, I feel like in the moment as it's gradually happening, or if you're always around people like that, like those people especially and people around them, they're like, no, that's not abusive. Like, that's just how they are. Like, that's
Yeah.
just how they handle things. But then when you take a step back and you gain that perspective,
Hmm.
know that shouldn't be happening or know that's not the right way to handle it. It just
Yeah.
becomes apparent. And so maybe he was like that. Maybe he was like, she's just really stern and strict sometimes. And
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He was complicated to me, like,
Yes, very complicated. Do you remember the part? I think it was in the
and
book.
frustrating.
Yes.
I'm very frustrated about him.
Oh, yes. I can't remember if it was in the documentary or the book where he talked about like things unraveling that he was like with his neighbor and they talked for like 6 hours in his room. And he like you could tell that it was like everything's a lie. Like it was on all unfolding because Chad was still drinking the Kool-Aid too. Like Shari tried to get a hold of Chad, and Chad was like, no, we're not supposed to be in contact, you
Oh
know?
my gosh. Yes. And then he told Ruby that
Yes.
Shari came to talk to him and that Shari called her abusive. And that, oh, that was so awful
I
when he turned around and
know.
told his mom what Shari said. And then it came back to
Mhm.
Shari. Yeah, that was really interesting. Yeah, the neighbors having to like just sit down and talk to him and just everything was clicking for
Yeah.
him. And he was
Yeah.
like kind of snapping out of like that haze, the
Hmm.
brainwashed haze. It was like his first step
Yeah.
to realizing. And some people argue like he still has a long ways to go because people are picking apart like his verbiage in the docuseries too, like
Hmm.
about how he still loves his wife or he actually thought that Jody was possessed, and then people are like, he didn't call him the kids my kids or my children. He said the kids or like the, which I
Hmm.
didn't pick up on, but people
Yeah.
are just kind of tearing him apart,
Yeah.
I guess, and think that he's still he's guilty and that he's not still like if he is guilty, like I think it's because he was brainwashed and like didn't he
Yeah.
wasn't like registering. So I don't know
Right.
whether or not you want to call that guilty or not. He wasn't guilty like his wife
Yeah.
is guilty. I
Oh,
do think.
totally.
But
Yeah.
um
I think that like with the whole thing about him not or still being in love with his wife, like he wasn't saying the things that she was doing was okay because he did say, yeah, those things were atrocious. They're
horrific.
yeah,
Yeah.
horrific. Yeah. But he was like, the all the good times that we had, those don't go away. Like those, it's like people who are always have some love for their abuser. Like
Yeah, like the
it,
person he fell in love with, the person he
mm,
married, and
yeah,
all the good moments in between. Like, how can he
right.
let go of that and say, I hate her, she's a monster? I know.
Right. Like he hates what she did for sure. And it doesn't sound like he's ever gonna be with her again. Like he didn't say, I think he said he's never going back to her.
Yeah, they filed
So,
for divorce. He
yeah.
filed for divorce. And they
Mhm.
say that at the end of the documentary or oh yeah, the book and the documentary are starting to blur
I know.
together.
I can't remember which one because
I'm
they were
pretty sure
so
it's the
close to me.
documentary because they give kind of an update of like what
Yeah.
he's doing and what Chad's doing and what Sherry's doing.
Hmm.
So he did file for divorce with her, which obviously I think that's
Yeah.
good, but it's
Yeah, for
heartbreaking
sure.
for him. And it's much more complicated for him than it is for like Sherry and Chad. Like those
Mhm.
are different types of relationships. Like that
Yes.
was his spouse.
Right. Exactly.
But I do feel like Sherry, I know Chad hasn't written a book or anything yet, and I don't know Chad as well as Sherry, but it seems to me like Sherry is much healthier and a
Yes,
little more healed, or a lot more healed than Chad.
I think
And it
so
was
too.
interesting to see like how they were just in the book as well as the documentary, like their approach and how they talk about Ruby. And if you
Mm,
notice, like in the documentary, he still calls her mom for the most
that's
part, and she just calls
true.
her like Ruby and Kevin. And same in the
Yeah.
book, she calls them Ruby and Kevin.
I thought
So
that was interesting that she was calling him Kevin because it does say that she's like decided to forgive and like move forward. I actually have a
and try
quote
to,
about that. I thought it was really good. Let's see.
yeah, she's wanting to work on her relationship with her dad,
Yeah.
which is good. Do
Yeah.
they live, okay, do her, Chad, and Kevin all live in the house right now?
Um, I th- oh, that's a good question.
And do we know if the younger kids, do we know if he has custody of the younger kids yet?
I
I
kept trying
wanted
to
more
find
answers
it.
with that.
Yes, me too. I think he was trying to get custody, but like, um, I remember hearing a TikToker talk about that Ruby had basically said that the boy, which, oh, this is something I really admired about this book, is that she never even, she only refers to Shari, like herself, and then Chad by name. All the rest of the siblings, she doesn't refer to them by name because she's like, Ruby has taken enough from us. If they want to tell their story, and I'll put this in the show notes, but this the book was a lot more tame. I felt like about the abuse than the documentary because she's like, that is my sibling story. If they want to tell it, they can do it. But she does not go into detail about the abuse for
Yep.
them. So I mean, I felt
Yeah,
like
which
that
was
was
really and which was cool to hear how she was manipulated and emotionally abused too, and how
Mhm.
she had to come to the realization about her mom's mental health
Yeah.
too, like how
And her
her mom
being
is a narcissist.
a full-blown narcissist, like, and she even talks about like how we kind of everyone kind of talks about narcissism in general, like, oh, this person, like my boss is a narcissist because he just like talks about himself or blah blah blah, like, but like this is full-blown narcissism. It's not just like we use that term, I think, too much, and then she talks about that in the book. But Ruby is a full-blown narcissist, like true blue. So
Yep.
yeah. Um, but what was I saying? So yeah, with the siblings. Oh yeah, you were asking if they're living there. Okay, so the TikToker, and I don't know if this is true, but the TikToker said that Ruby made allegations that the boy, because it was a boy and a girl that were found in St. George, that the boy was like sexually abusing someone or like his siblings or something like that. So because she made that claim, that he cannot be put in a home with his siblings or with other kids or something.
Who
So
made that claim?
Ruby. Ruby lied about it.
And
So
like recently or
I don't know when she did, but so and that's what I can't remember. I'm pretty sure there's this TikToker that I've seen
wow, I've
like
never
gone to
heard of
classes.
that.
Yeah. So I don't know how accurate that was because it's never talked about in the book or the documentary. The documentary, yeah, I wish they'd gone more into like where the kids are, but maybe to protect their privacy, that's why they like didn't go into it. So, and I don't know. I'm assuming that that is not true. That like, I'm assuming because Ruby obviously thought that her two youngest children were filled by demons.
Possessed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
possessed. So I'm like, what is the word? So obviously I wouldn't believe a lot of what she says. Oh, and can we talk about how evil it is that like Jody was quote unquote possessed and she gets like massages and priest of blessings and all this different stuff, and then the little kids are possessed, quote unquote, and they get abused and beaten up. Like, make it
Oh,
make
yeah,
sense.
where make it make sense.
Ah,
That's so true.
I saw so many people say that,
She
like,
was taken care of. Yeah, I've actually never thought about that. Like how it came.
yeah,
Ugh. yeah, like why is that so different with
Mhm.
you needed to be kept safe and taken care of?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I know. Where were the priesthood blessings for the kids?
Right. Yeah. But
There was no one
obviously,
to give them because they kicked him out.
yeah. Did
Oh
you
my
think
gosh.
did you think before the documentary, like, was there any inklings to you that Ruby and Jody were lovers?
Before the documentary?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I had a little bit of an inkling that something was going on just because the things that I heard before watching the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought it was so sketchy how they like lived together or they
Yeah.
like s slept in the same room. And no one was like talking about it too, or like it was all speculation though. And now it's a little bit more
Yeah.
okay. Oh, and
I
how
don't
difficult for Sherry to like have to manage that.
right. Mm-hmm. And give up her room. Like I
There's
think
so
I've
much
come on
to
it
unpack
before.
here. There
I
is so
know.
much to talk about. Like
I
I should have
know.
outlined. Like I can't even. I'm like,
Seriously.
there's so much to say about. Okay,
Yeah.
so first of all, the documentary is way more graphic and disturbing
Yes.
than the book.
Hmm.
So the book is more tame, very interesting still, very engaging, very easy read.
Yeah.
Like some people were tearing, not tearing apart. Okay, yeah. Some people were being critical of her writing because they're like, "Oh, I can tell she's a new writer. I can tell she's really young. If you're looking for any earth-shattering writing, this isn't where it's at." But it's like her
That's
personal
weird.
account. She
Yeah.
has a co-writer as well. I thought it was great. I thought it was really well done.
I think so
And I
too.
listened to the audiobook. Rachel read it on her Kindle. But yeah, Sherry, the author, she narrates it. I feel like she does a good job, and I feel like it makes it more even more personal that she's the one that reads it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Um, yeah, I would definitely recommend the book. I think you have to be care like I don't know. It depends who you are. Like I
Yeah.
don't know who to recommend the documentary because clear I was like I can't even recommend. I don't think Rachel would do that would watch this,
I
but
know. I kind of regret
um
it, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I couldn't not.
like
I was
moth to a
like,
flame.
yes, yes. It's just, it was like a car wreck. Like you can't look
You
away.
just kind of want to see like how did this happen?
Yeah.
Where was the
Yeah. I
downfall?
wanted to see where it started because it's like at the beginning she was a normal mom and then it turns into this crazy big YouTube channel, which I wasn't familiar with the YouTube channel until like after all the stuff came out. So I never followed it, but there were people that like admired this family and they were the picture perfect family. And Ruby is beautiful. Like she's presents herself well. She always has makeup, lipstick, all that stuff. So it's like, and she has this like really sweet kids, you know? So I can see why people would watch it and like want to be part of this family. And then you just realize that you don't know what's behind the camera. Like it's all just a facade.
Yes. And I think it's amazing that Sherry's opened this door and like opened people's eyes to seeing like the problems with family vloggers.
Yeah.
And I think it was her that said any type of family vlogging is like not appropriate. It's not
Yeah.
good. If you're using it, if you do feel like you have to use it or if you want to keep your family vlog,
Yeah.
this law should be in place to at least give the children financial compensation.
Yeah. Because
And
Ruby never paid them. She kept saying she was going to pay them. And then I guess there was some money in Ruby's and Sherry's account, but like Ruby had access and she was
she ended
taking
up
it on the
take
camera.
Sherry was inspired and so smart for taking her money
Yeah.
out of her account, which Ruby had access to, and she put it in her own personal account that Ruby couldn't touch. And guess what
Hmm.
happened? Ruby had taken all the other kids' money and liquidated it or taken it out. So
Hmm.
Sherry's money would have been gone.
Yeah.
And that did make me kind of mad. Like I can kind of see how Ruby's like, no, you got to work for it. I'm not giving you a shout out till you get like this many followers. Because Sherry made a YouTube channel um when she was living in the home when she was like 15 or 16, I don't know. And her mom's like, "No, I'm not going to give you a shout out until you reach this many." And I was like kind of bugged by that, but I'm like, "Okay, she wants to teach her like how to make it on her own like
Hmm.
Ruby did." But it made me really mad when Sherry did really well with her account and started
Yeah.
bringing in some money and the mom's like, "You're going to give me like a cut of the money
I
because like
know. That was horrible.
you're only doing this well because of me and because you're following the things that I've done and you're learning from
Hmm.
me, so you need to give me, I forget the percentage.
I
But
think it was 10%.
it
I
made
think
me
10.
really mad because I'm like, why do you have to take that from her?
I know. It's just, oh,
Like you have your
well,
own successful channel. Like
right.
you shouldn't have your daughter pay you for her successful channel. Like
And
that was kind
yeah.
of very much red flag for me. I don't
Oh,
know.
totally. Yeah. Oh man. And like,
But yeah,
yeah,
think about all the vloggers out there, the family
with little
vloggers.
kids with
It
like
makes
all the
you,
unboxings and everything. And
yeah, it's like a fresh
yeah.
perspective,
Hmm.
um, a fresh outlook on it. But yeah, Sherry's trying to get that law passed in Utah where
Hmm.
if they have a YouTube channel, the children have to get a certain amount of the earnings or something. I don't remember the
Yeah. They have to be
jargon.
paid like child actors because that's what they are. You know?
Yeah, and you
So,
think about all the Instagram accounts where like they use kids and kids
hmm.
are in the reels. Like people are like, this is just the tip of the iceberg. You're going to see a lot more things like this.
Hmm.
Hopefully not exactly like this, but as far as like exploiting kids and how it's going to affect kids down the
Right.
road
Hmm.
too,
For
um,
sure. I
and
think it's
family.
interesting because it's only been around, I mean, what, 20 years? Like YouTube. I remember being in college and it was like a fresh thing. So this
Oh,
shows me.
YouTube was like just coming
Yeah.
about,
So
just
it's
getting
been
popular when
around,
we were in college.
yeah, about 20 years. And so these kids are now old enough. I mean, with Sherry, she's 21. How old is she? She's early
She's,
20s.
I think she's going to be 22. She
Okay.
was born in 2003.
There we go. Yeah. So
I feel
she
like she's
whole life.
experienced so much. I forget that she is so young. She feels
Yeah.
older to me.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. So her whole life has been YouTube and not by choice. And so it's interesting that we're now seeing the consequences of all that.
Yeah,
Um,
the kids don't have a choice, and that's the thing.
yeah.
How's that going to affect them? Yeah, even with my 10-year-old, she was like so adorable with watching Anne of Green Gables for the first
Hmm.
time, the first one. But she didn't want me to record her. She was really like, Mom, stop, don't record me. And I was still like secretly video recording. But
Uh-huh.
now I'm like, oh, even before watching the documentary, I'm like, is that the right thing to like make a reel out of this? Like, I would feel like I would have to get her approval. Like, is it
Yeah.
okay if I post this? Because
Yeah.
that just feels like if someone doesn't want to be recorded and you record them anyways, which I
Right.
did, and then you post it to like social media, like, how's that
Yeah.
making them feel? Like, they have like no
Right.
control over
Yeah.
their like wants and wishes.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's just something, if I do ever post it, oh, it's so adorable. Rachel, it's so cute.
And
She
because
was
you
like
want to just
bubbly.
share
She was
it.
like jumping up and down. Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But I feel like she's got to be comfortable with like what I post before I post it to like, because I don't personally know like a lot of the people that see our content on Two Babes in a
Hmm.
Book. Like,
Yeah.
and it's a public account. Like, so it's
Right.
different than posting it on my personal account. But yeah,
Exactly.
anyways, just things that make you think.
Yes. Like the ethics of it all.
Uh,
Yeah.
what was like the most maddening thing that you read in the book?
The thing
That's a
I keep
hard
going
question.
back to is not with Sherry, but like I keep going back to the Christmas where they made the two kids watch their siblings like open all the Christmas gifts and then clean it up and they didn't get anything. Like that is just that breaks my heart as a mom. Like I just think about it all the time. It's just
That
so
is
sad.
so awful. And
'Cause that's
Jody saying
emotional
like,
abuse.
what did Jody say? Like,
Oh, I can't
no kid is ever gifted like, oh, what was Sherry saying that Jody had said that irked Sherry to the core? Like, no
remember.
one is given a free, innocent childhood, or you're not gifted like a pure, wonderful childhood. You have to
Oh,
like earn it or something like that, or you have to
man.
work for that, or like not everyone is given such a wonderful childhood. Like, you guys are so entitled. And so they do things like that to, oh, and like take the sporting events away.
Oh,
for
for
like
Chad.
extracurriculars.
Hmm.
Yeah, and also they did it for the youngest too. You know
Oh,
what bothers me? TikTok, there's pictures and videos of the younger kids and they're not blurred out. They're everywhere. And
yeah.
people are like trying to stand up for them, like, hey, Sherry's done this for a reason. Like, you guys should at
Yeah.
least blur it out. Like, stop
Yeah.
posting the video,
Right.
the old eight passenger videos and
Hmm.
pictures, and they're like not blurring out the younger kids at all. But anyways, I guess the youngest, the little girl who's the youngest, she there's a video of her and it's of her face and Ruby's talking and she's saying, Mom and Dad have, since you are having trouble with the basics, granted, she's like a preschooler. And she's like, since you're having trouble with the basics, we're gonna take away dance for a while. Like you're not gonna go to dance.
So
And
sad.
just how like the little girl's face, how her face just fell. Like she was just like shocked and so upset. And it's like, you shouldn't take away extracurricular things as
Yeah.
punishment. And you shouldn't take away books as a punishment. We almost fell into that trap where I was like, I'm not going to read a book to you tonight if you do that again, or we're going to lose book reading for the night. And I
Hmm.
was like, wait, I don't want to take away books for punishment. Like, no, that's awful. Books are really good. Because then your kids be
Hmm.
like, fine, I don't want to read a book. And then they like don't read books. Like, what? No, no. Like, I
Not going
love that
down
my
that.
kids want to read books.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's good for kids to read books and it's good for kids to have extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
Anyways, that
Yeah.
part was very sad. Yeah, the Christmas part.
Yeah.
I really hated the part where they wanted to go out to dinner with like Ruby, or not, sorry, Ruby and Jody wanted to take the daughters out to dinner. And I
Hmm.
don't know if this was around Christmas or what, I can't remember.
Yeah, she
And
was visiting for Christmas.
they said 7 o'clock, and 7 o'clock came and went, and Sherry was like, okay, well, I'm hungry. Um, so I'm gonna just eat something, I guess, and like watch a show with my sisters. And they came down and they were like so upset at Sherry. But it was like an hour later and they're like, we're ready to
Hmm.
go. And I love how Sherry would like throw stuff back in their face.
Yes.
Like, I thought you said being on time. But anyways, when they came back like hours later and how Sherry was upset and they were crying and
Yeah.
they all hugged and I was like, oh, yuck,
I
so
know.
manipulative.
I know.
It was just an example of like that very unhealthy pattern and how
Yes.
like Sherry was so emotionally affected.
Yeah. And you don't
And it's
blame
like that
her. You can
worked.
blame
That
her.
worked. Yeah, exactly. Like
Mhm.
any normal person would have reacted like Sherry did.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Oh,
It
there's
was
just so
just,
much.
and then she's like, I just noticed how wrong it was being hugged by both of them.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
because they're not your moms. That's not,
I'm
that's,
very curious what Jody Hildebrandt's kids like because that was one of the things that Jody said was, yeah, my kids have left me and you're leaving your mom and that's just so horrible, like being left behind. And
how could you do that to her? She doesn't,
yeah,
I don't want her to go through what I went through. So manipulative.
yeah. So I'm curious, like, where are the like Jody's kids? Like, why haven't they spoken out?
I was like,
You
of
know?
course she's estranged from her adult kids.
Yeah.
Of course she is. That
Hmm.
makes total sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, that right there should have been the reddest flag. When
Yeah.
if you have like a mental health provider and they're estranged from their family,
Hmm.
like why? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would want to know the backstory on that.
Right. Oh, and Sherry found out about that stuff. Like, or I think she
Ruby
found, yeah.
or Sherry. Oh,
Yeah, with
Sherry
Sherry.
online.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
And she was telling her she told Ruby about it.
hmm.
And Ruby
Yeah.
just kind of brushed her off.
She was like, she's lost her license, mom. Like, and she's like, oh, I know about all that. It's fine. Whatever. Like, is it though?
Just like pushed it under the rug. Yeah. And
Yes.
Jody's like, don't believe the things that you see online.
Hmm.
People will say this about me. People call me crazy, like, but I've been wronged. You know, like that victim card.
Yes. Uh-huh. But I feel like if there are enough people saying stuff about you, like a couple bad
You-
reviews, yes, that's going to happen. But over and over again, people are like, this woman ruined my life. Like,
Also, you should step back and see like where, what kind of friends and family are sticking with that person. And if you
that's
see
true.
if they have limited to no close friends or family, I feel like you should take a step back and like
Red
think
flag.
about that. yeah,
Yeah.
reflect and be like,
Mhm.
why are all these bridges burned? Like
Mhm.
something's not adding up. Because
Right.
if it's just a couple people, yeah, that happens in business. If you're like very successful or like
Right.
maybe she made one mistake and this person's like out to get her.
Yeah.
But if you're seeing like a pattern, it's like,
Mhm.
hello, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Totally. Oh man.
I could not believe about the Derek story.
Yes. Let's talk about
I could
Derek.
not believe that happened to her.
That was so shocking to me. Like
That
Derek
was
is
shocking.
like 45 years old and like grooming an 18-year-old girl. Like that could be his daughter. That's disgusting. Ooh.
I'm like still in shock that that
Yes.
happened
Yeah.
amidst everything that Shari was having to deal with.
Hmm.
At least Ruby had one thing right. She was like, I don't want you seeing him. I don't know if she said we or I, but she's like, I don't have a good feeling
Yeah.
about you seeing this guy. Like, you shouldn't do it. I don't want you to do it.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, well, Ruby, you had that right.
Right. But I wonder if it was she just, I don't know. I feel like Ruby was freaked out about anything that was beyond her control. So I don't know how much it was like,
Protecting
intuition.
Shari.
Right. It was probably like
I
protecting
know.
her, protecting Ruby.
I
Um,
know. I just like couldn't believe that happened to Shari on top of everything. She has been through the ringer.
Yeah. And I'm very impressed by the fact that Shari, so, listeners of this podcast know we're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So, and Shari is still a member. Like Jody and Ruby, everything that they do, that they did with connections and stuff, that is very anti anything the church teaches, like abuse and, cutting off your family, all that different stuff. Like, no, like big no no. So I think it's interesting that Shari is still a member and I think she's getting married in the temple to her fiance, unless she's already married. Is she already married?
I don't know.
I know in the book she was like, or maybe it's the documentary. It said she was engaged. That's what it was.
Maybe
So
she's getting married like this spring or summer.
maybe. So I liked this quote. So the whole thing with Derek was that it says Derek had never lost his temple recommend like I had. And the experience had taught me a vital lesson that just because a church leader says something doesn't mean they're right. Doesn't mean it's necessarily coming from God. With everything I'd gone through, I'd realized that what a human being says holds less value to me than my personal conversations with God. Those now are my North Star. How do you feel about that quote?
I like initially I love that quote, but I can see how there could be some problems if you dissect that quote and think about it
Mhm.
within our church. Because that's like a
Hard.
definitely a hard topic in the church
Hmm.
is like the way the church is set up. There's like priesthood leadership and bishops. They're in charge of congregations and like we follow a
Hmm.
prophet who's a man.
Right.
And so I feel like you can't really like yes, I feel like I mostly agree with that, but I feel like you could kind of like run off with that way of thinking
Hmm.
and be like,
Go too
oh, it
far
doesn't
with it.
matter what like my bishop or the prophet says. Like I feel this way personally, but
Yeah.
like most of the time, like your revelation and your spiritual guidance is going to align with like especially what the prophet and the apostles are saying.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is some problems and disconnect with like abuse within the local church, like
Yeah.
or congregations and even higher up with like men on the outside that are really good on the outside and are perceived as really good men, like Derek,
Like Derek.
and do things like that secretively, and
Yeah.
then they don't get the repercussions, or maybe some other men are protecting them.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't deny that that is not an issue because
Yeah.
clearly it is.
Right.
So
Because
makes me really angry.
sometimes people just suck. And like that doesn't mean that I don't have faith in this church, but sometimes people just suck. So I think that's where it comes down to you need to pray about it and see what like basically come to your own testimony of those leaders because there are leaders who use and abuse their role, but I think that they're majorly in the minority.
Phew,
They're
excuse me.
way bless you, they're in the minority. I think for most of the time the church leaders like bishops or stake presidents or whatever, I think that they're trying the best that they can with the limited resources that they have. And
Hmm.
so I think 9 times out of 10, I think that they're doing the best they can and they're following through on revelation. There are ones that do abuse. And I don't think that that necessarily means that the church is a bad place. I think it means that people are very, very fallible. What word am I looking for?
Fallible.
Fallible? Is that the word I'm looking for? That sounds weird. There,
Like weakness or
yes,
like prone to weakness, like
prone to
not
weakness.
perfect. Obviously, there's people that are not perfect.
Right.
Yeah. It just made me mad. Like, I feel like the way she said it in the book, eh, the way she recounted her experiences to her bishop at the time, and then he relayed that to the state. Like, she didn't even talk to the stake president.
That's
And
true.
so it bothered me how the bishop told what she said to the stake president, and then the stake president was like, "Yeah, we should take her." Like, I feel like the bishop deep down knew, "Hey, this isn't right."
Right.
To take her temple recommend away, but I should follow the protocol and talk to the stake president. And then the stake president
Mhm.
was like, yeah, I feel like the stake president didn't know the whole story or didn't understand the story. Most
Yeah.
people in the church, most men in the church, I feel like understand how grooming works and
Yeah.
how
It was
she
clearly
was a
grooming.
minor at the time
Well, no, I think she was 18 when she
when it
started.
started.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
So, but still, it's still grooming. Like that age
Still,
gap.
she's still so young, and maybe that's
Mhm.
how the creepy Derek guy. Did you ever wonder if that's his real name?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's not, but yeah, I've
I
kind of
wish I
wondered.
wish she just said first and
I
last name in the
know,
book. Like, why not?
seriously.
Why not?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just thought about that. I'm like, why didn't you just air all that dirty laundry? She must,
Yes.
because she's a very classy person. That's why. What was I gonna say? Dang it. I was like, maybe that's why Creepy Derek, I'm gonna call him Creepy Derek. Maybe that's why he
Mhm.
justified it. Like, he kind of waited till she was 18, and maybe
Yeah.
he was like, well, she's an adult, so it makes it better.
Hmm.
More, maybe that was one of
Oh,
the ways he justified grooming her. Because yeah, 100% it's still grooming.
yeah, totally.
Even if
Just
he
the
was,
things that he'd tell her, like he's preparing her for marriage and stuff. And he was a married man. Like, I do think going back to this quote that because he's a church leader. He wasn't her church leader, but he was a church leader. And so I think that when in this quote, she's also talking about Derek. Like, just because a church leader says something doesn't mean they're right. Like, I think you have to take that into context too. Like, because he was like, well, why don't you trust me? I'm entrusted with the spiritual progression and like of my quorum. And so
yeah, sounded like he was an Elders Quorum president.
right. Yeah. So, well, sorry, did you say he wasn't?
It sounded like he
Oh,
was from
sounded.
what I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
saying. Yeah.
And like probably a high priest and stuff like that. So I feel like in that sense, I feel like her whole like throughout the entire book, she was never like, oh, I'm against, like following the church doctrine or anything like that. It was just that one quote that I do think it is important for us to pray about things and see
Ourselves.
yeah, ourselves and get a testimony. And like you said, the like those like okay, Derek using his priesthood in for evil and saying, "Oh, what I'm doing is okay." That is against doctrine. Like that is like sexual relations outside of marriage, right? Like extramarital doing stuff. All those things. That is against core doctrine. So like he saying that as a church leader didn't mean it was right. So like that's kind of like our guiding north star. Like, okay, is this in line with what the Bible teaches, what the Book of Mormon teaches? Like, you know. So
Yeah.
I think in that sense we just have to be. But I can see what you're saying. Like you got to be careful. It can't go too far. Where like there was that. Remember that Instagram person that we used to follow that she
Oh,
was
Dr. Julie Hanks.
no,
Is
oh,
that the
her
one?
too. Her too. She was the one that was in, she was like a bigger, voluptuous woman, and she was like the Mormon hippie.
Oh,
Remember
yes, the
her?
Mormon hippie, and she's like
Yeah.
changed her name since.
Yes.
Yes.
And her talked about like as she was like starting to leave the church. I remember her being like, I received revelation to blah, 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 blah. And it was things that were against church doctrine. And so it was like very like, and then what do you know? She ends up leaving the church, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's the
Oh,
trajectory. If you
yeah.
feel like you know better and you just want to make your own decisions that align with you and what you
Mhm.
believe.
Yeah.
And if they're contrary to, yeah,
What the prophet
what the
teaches.
prophet's teaching,
Yeah.
like, of course you're gonna leave the church. You don't align your beliefs with that at all. But
Right.
yeah, I just feel like the way she told the bishop, she made it sound very like gray area-esque ish that like
Mhm.
she was consenting to it. I mean, she wasn't
Yeah.
like
Because she
stopping
felt like
it,
she was. Yeah.
but
Like
she was,
she,
but from my perspective, the way she explained the whole situation, I was
yeah,
like, she was
she's
so
pressured.
manipulated and
Yeah.
pressured, and she
Yeah.
didn't want to do anything physical with him the whole time.
Mhm.
But I feel like the way that she talked to the bishop, that it can be construed as like, oh, she was just being like a bad girl on
Yeah.
purpose, or
Yeah.
that she wanted to do that. But I'm like, no, she didn't.
Mm-mm. Well, and it's
That's
the
why I felt like it
same.
was
I'm
unfair.
I'm sure that like she talks about this in the book, but like the whole idea of consent, she was never given consent in her life, really. Like there, her whole, I mean, she was taken out of school to a different school. She was videotaped and all the time did not have like she never knew how to give consent, but she knew how to grin and bear it and be like, okay, sure. Like she was doing the same thing with Derek that she
The
did.
fawn response, is that
The
what
fawning
the
response, yes,
fawning
yeah,
response?
yes. So she,
Yeah.
that was a trauma response, and so yeah, I am glad that Derek eventually did get he was on the disciplinary council, like, or he wasn't on it, but he was put in front of a disciplinary council. So sounds
Yeah.
like
But it
he
was said that his Temple recommend was never taken away.
right. So does that mean
And
never
that
ever?
irked me to the
Like,
core.
I
I was
wonder if
like,
he got it taken away later after the disciplinary council. Like, would
no,
they wonder
Sherry
that?
in the book said it
Yeah,
was never taken away.
that's true. Which that is not
And
okay.
hers was like so quickly. I mean,
Yeah,
just for a little bit of a time, but
but still, and she was doing the right thing by saying something, and yeah, just that whole thing. Oh,
that part was so maddening and creepy, and how he would text
no.
her constantly, and when he
Yeah,
dropped off birthday presents
I know
at
that
her
part
car,
gave me
where
the
she was at
creeps.
her aunt's house. I was
And she
like,
was like in
whoa.
the corner, like hiding in the corner, and she's like freaking out. Like I was freaking out. Like I think I gasped and was like, "Oh no!" Like literally said that out loud as I'm reading the book because I just,
I thought he was going to go
heard
up
his
to the
daughter.
door.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, but the fact they didn't is good. And she watched that murder mystery. There was like a true crime, and it was
Yeah,
a
I was like, this
like
is not a good time for you to get into true crime, girl. Like,
no,
stop.
like why are you doing this? But it kind of made her realize that she saw the like Ruby Frank. One of the true crime things was she saw her mom in the Lori. mm,
Oh, our mom as a murderer or something. Yeah, she shared the title of the
yeah,
document. I can't remember the names
Lori
though.
Vallow or something. She was also a member of our church, but then went crazy and like followed a cult and stuff. And she murdered her two kids. And so there was that. So she was like, wait, like Ruby seems a lot like this woman. And then another true crime reminded her of the situation with Derek. So I really think that like
She was like
she,
living her worst nightmare. Like she's
yes,
like, this is my
yes,
life.
yes. But it kind of helped her recognize like the red flags that she wasn't recognizing before, or like not to the full extent, you know. So
Yeah. And
I
I'm so happy that she reconnected with her aunts too. Did you like
yes.
that part? How she was able
Hmm.
to connect with them and they were able to be a support? Because I did
Yeah.
wonder about that. I was like, where's Ruby's siblings in this?
Right. And her parents,
And
like
her parents.
that
That
I'm
broke
very
my
curious
heart
about
how she
that.
was talking to Kevin's parents, like her paternal grandparents.
Yeah,
That made
I
me so sad because they
know.
had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Like to them, they were still like a happy family. And she's like, no,
Mhm.
my dad left. Ruby asked him to leave. Like, can you just imagine the heartbreak from the
I
parents?
know. That's so sad. And they were so
I
frail.
just,
Like they,
yeah, just the way she
yeah.
described his parents, I was like,
Mm, I
is
know.
Kevin, is Kevin the youngest and then Ruby was the oldest
I
in
think
her family?
so. Which that reminds me of me and my husband too. Not that I'm Ruby
Yes.
Frankie. I'm not, but like
No
I
way.
understand that like that like alpha thing. Like, and I've learned in my life to step back and be like, just because as an oldest daughter, that's how I'm wired, just to be in charge. And then I have to, but when I step back and let my husband lead, it's good. Like, it is really like we
Yes.
lead
And you like
together, but
understand that and you
yes.
try to have that balance.
Yeah.
Where
Because,
she just seemed like wanted someone to steamroll and
yeah,
control.
she
And
just wanted like a sperm
he
donor, it
has
seems like. Like,
I'm like, did you love him at all?
right. Oh my goodness. Can we talk about her chart that she had when they were dating, where she like wrote down everything
Talk
like
about type A,
oh,
Molly Mormon personality. Like, I'm gonna make a
seriously.
chart about my future spouse.
Yes.
I
And
wish I could say that that's super bizarre and unheard of and weird, but like, I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
can see stuff like that happening. Not to that
Yeah.
extent, but
Right.
like I feel like there's girls within the church that have like checklists or lists, even if
Hmm.
it's just like not as detailed as that, but I feel
Yeah.
like my husband's gonna be this, my husband's gonna be this, my husband, yeah, and then they go to
Hmm.
college
Right.
to get their MRS degree. Like,
Right. But with Shari, it's like she had this like competition going. Like she had multiple guys.
oh,
I was,
Ruby,
yeah, sorry, not Shari, Ruby. I'm curious if like
just
Kevin ever,
playing the field.
yeah. Well, do you think Kevin ever met those guys? Like, do you think those guys existed?
Well, remember that story in the book? Wait, was it in the book? She was sitting between
Oh,
Kevin and another guy.
I
She was
forgot about
holding
that.
both of their hands. Talk
Yes.
about she has some gall to put it lightly.
I forgot about that.
Some
He was,
gall of her to hold hands with both the guys. And Kevin
yeah.
saw it, and I love proof that he has some type of backbone, or he used to
Yeah.
before she like stamped it out of him.
Hmm.
He was like, he called her out. He was like, "Hey, that wasn't okay. Like, I just want to date you, just you. I want
Yeah.
you to date me, just me, you know?"
Hmm.
And then she thought that was really attractive and she
Yeah.
just dated him. And I'm
Right.
like, what happened to that fire? You know?
Yeah, about protecting your kids. Like, and in that sense, my husband is very different from Kevin. Like, I
Standing
do
up
think,
for
yeah,
yourself too.
yeah, stand up for yourself and stand up for your kids. And,
Like, okay, I'll move out if you want me to move out, but I'm gonna see the kids
right.
once
Like,
a
you don't
week.
just leave your kids. Like, that is
Don't
not
let her call
okay.
the shots like 100% like that.
Right. And
But
Jody,
he just
well,
wanted her back so bad. He wanted to
yeah,
do, and he was brainwashed, as we've talked about. So he
yeah.
was willing to literally like do anything
Hmm.
to get her back, even
Right.
if that means disconnecting from his kids. And that was heartbreaking in the book when Shari said that she saw him on campus.
And he would just walk by. Oh,
I'm like,
that's
you
so
can't just like give
sad.
her a hug.
I know. That's your baby girl,
She could
like,
have confided, he could have saved her from Derek. Like
yeah.
she wanted to confide in him. He just was like not there.
Hmm.
Literally not there in her
Yeah.
life.
So of course she was gonna go to another man who, like, if you have daddy issues.
Was a father figure. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, do you
Yeah.
remember that part where she's like, I accidentally called Derek dad and he was so upset.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm curious how old the kids were, Derek's kids, because he was married with kids. Like, I wonder.
They probably were, the older ones had to have been like around her age.
Oh, it's so weird. Oh, I wonder
He's
if the wife,
mid
like,
40s.
I hope the wife found out.
Me too.
Like,
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, let his name loose.
yeah. 'Cause-
So, because there's other predators like that, and so scare the heck out of them. Like
yeah.
snap them out of, like, I don't understand how men in or out of the church can do anything like that.
Right. Yeah. You know what? I'm guessing that Derek's wife would probably figure it out, just because if Shari was working for him as a social media consultant and doing all this stuff, I bet the wife would have figured it out. I
So
would
that
think
means he's on
so.
social media. Like, what's his business? What's his social media?
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
So creepy.
So, did you feel by the end of the book, did you feel like a sense of hope, or were you just like, that was just depressing?
No,
Like,
I felt a sense of hope
mhm,
for her moving forward. And yeah,
me
versus
too.
the documentary, I was like, Ew,
I
that was
know.
awful. This is so icky. Yeah, the book was much more hopeful.
It was felt more well-rounded because I know that they did have good times. Like the family did. She talked about like her mom's delicious bread that she would make. Like there were positive things, well, a lot of negative, but there were some positive. I liked how here's two quotes that I've got. With each breath I take, I'm reminded that I'm alive, that I survived, and that I have the power to create a legacy of my own without YouTube. And then this is the other one. I will break the cycle. I will trust the children, the child within me, and the children I will one day nurture. I love that because she's honoring her inner child, but also her
Yeah.
future children. She's going to trust. I love that. I will trust the children. She's part of it. Just, I
Yeah.
like that hope. I'm
Yeah,
so
there's so much hope there and that
Mhm.
she's like I'm hopeful that she will break the cycle.
I
And
think so.
that she's
I think
going to
she
be
will.
like a great mom. And I was like, I was kind of angry reading some of the don't read the book reviews because they're like it's frustrating to read some of the book reviews because there were a lot of comments that were like she's so young and she's so this trauma is so fresh, like I can't believe she's still in the church. One day she'll see and have a better perspective and hopefully she'll basically leave the church. People are like I can't believe she's still in the
Mhm.
church after this.
It
And
wasn't
they're
the
like
church though. It
you
was
can't see the toxicity that's in the church and yeah, because of the Derek situation mainly too.
oh the Derek
Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
And like
Mhm.
yeah, the whole like oh, and then in the book she shares how she asked her current bishop, who sounds like an amazing bishop, because she switched wards, she switched
Yes, which was
congregations
smart.
after that. Hmm.
Yeah, smart of
And it
her.
sounds like she has like really great leaders now, but she shared how she asked her church leader, like, if I see my mom in the celestial kingdom, like, do I need to talk to her or something like something along those lines? And the bishop was like, no, you don't need to. If she somehow makes it, like you have no obligation to like
Yeah.
have a relationship with her, like even in the afterlife and stuff like that. And people were really mad because they're like, you're still asking your leaders like if you what you should do in the celestial kingdom. Like, wake up, Shari, like you need to move on with your life. And they're like, hopefully someday she'll see with like a new perspective. She's too close to the trauma to see clearly. So people were saying that about the book, and I was like, no. Or she's
No.
clinging to what brings her joy and happiness and
Yeah.
healing. And if that's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, like that is the right thing for her. You know,
Right.
like let it go.
Exactly.
It was kind of frustrating to read those, but I
Yeah.
love how she's like holding on to her faith, like despite all this crappy stuff that she
Hmm.
experienced. And it is true. Like all this stuff is so recent. Like
Yeah,
this was a year and a half ago, or
that's true.
basically a little less than a year and a half, or a little more than a year and a half ago. Because
Like,
like
yeah.
this August will be 2 years. Because it was August 2023 when it all came to a head, you know, like with
When they were arrested, right?
when they were arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was very, very fresh. I liked how do you remember the part where, just going back to Sherry's faith, where I don't remember what happened where she got in a fight with her parents. It might have been when they found out about the boy or something, but she went in the shower and just like sobbed. And then she's standing there in a towel in front of the shower and she's filled with like all this self-loathing and but there's that glimmer and there's definitely like the Holy Ghost that was like, that reminded her I am a child of God. So she having that knowledge was really comforting for her that even if she had a mom that did not love her, then you know, she knew that she was a child of God. So, I mean, why tear that down? Why,
I know. I just
like,
think there's a lot of negativity out there like connected to the church and
yeah,
but yeah, it's not the church's fault. Like there's some issues with the culture that we talked about and
yeah,
obviously some things with abuse that I think need to be better. But as far as like the doctrine and like the faith and the strength that it can give people, like let people have that without
yeah,
like speaking badly about that or
right.
judging her for continuing on that path, like in that faith. So,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just hope that she can continue healing. And same with her dad and Chad. I feel like she's a little bit ahead of them in the healing
Hmm.
process. Just like, what I think. I mean, obviously you don't really
Yes.
know for sure, but
Have you seen any of Chad's social media posts?
a little bit. Yeah, he's got
He's
like
like
that dark humor.
total goofball. Like, and I think he's got a girlfriend, it looks like. And yeah, he just, oh, it's so funny. Second child's like to the T,
I know they're
like,
they seem so different, Shari and
mhm.
Chad.
Yeah, it reminds me of my older two. Like one is more hard, like my second oldest is hardcore and just like feels every like it's just like way out there, and the oldest is like trying to just keep everything together, and
Well, guys, we need to
oh
follow the rules. Okay, everyone stick
yes.
together. This is what we need
I
to be
know.
doing.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so funny.
just fascinating. Um, let's see. Did you have any other quotes?
I didn't write down any quotes.
Oh,
Guys, Rachel read this in one day. You read it in one day? I thought you listened to it this whole time. I'm like,
no.
whoa, she read it. That's
I started at 8 a.m.
even
and
though it's a short book, I'm still impressed
I
because
know
it was
it
a
was 8 a.m. to
5 hour
3
audiobook.
p.m. Like it was, I mean, not straight because like my
And
son
what
came
did your
home.
house look like at the end of this day?
It was, I did not touch it. Like I was so, my eyes hurt by the end. It was bad. Okay, this is a good one to end it. So this is when Ruby was being led away. It says, as Ruby was led away, I realized I too would have to learn to let it go. Oh, because she talked about how she used to like, she loved Frozen and she did like the Frozen play and stuff. Like there's some like cute, it's just normal kid stuff in this. But
Yeah.
um, yeah. So as Ruby was led away, I realized I too would have to learn to let it go. That wouldn't mean forgetting or excusing what had happened. It would mean allowing myself to feel, to be imperfect, to love myself and others without judgment. It would mean breaking the cycles of fear and control that have been passed down to me. It would mean recognizing my power, facing my fears, and always choosing love over fear again and again. I just love that. There was so much hope. Like, I think Sherry's just, she's so self aware. And I think that her writing this book was so powerful. And it was probably really cathartic for her to like
Yeah.
get it all out there. So people who are like negative about her writing, I think she did great. Like,
I thought she did great. Yeah.
compare this to
I
the
know.
Britney Spears one. Like over there. Okay, let's compare writing style, shall
Let's
we?
talk about the caliber here of writing. Yeah.
Little different, just a
I mean,
little bit.
yeah, Rachel had several quotes to share, which means it was good writing if she takes the
Right.
time to write down these quotes and
Or highlight on
want
my
to share
Kindle.
them, highlight them. Yeah, exactly. It was,
Apparently, a little tidbit on your Kindle. I don't have it, or I do have my Kindle here, but I just Googled to see if I could find it online, and it's really easy to find. Like you can do read.amazon.com/notebook, and it has all your notes from all the books that you've highlighted.
really
It's so
also
cool.
on the Kindle, how does it work? Like, because I bought the Hunger Games book on my Kindle and
Uh-huh.
I was reading it like the day that it was published, and I got to a point and it was underlined and it said three people highlighted this.
Yeah, just three
So
other
when
Kindle users.
so whoever bought it on Kindle, like in the world, if they
Uh-huh.
highlight something, it's highlighted in mine
I
and
guess if
it's
it's more than one.
popular.
Yeah,
If
I
it's
think it's if it's more than one.
That's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, three other people underlined this.
That's
So
pretty cool. Did you get it the day it came out?
I pre-ordered it and then it like dropped into my library
Nice.
on
You
March
were
18th.
excited.
I
Oh.
was excited. I know I don't normally pre-order stuff.
Oh,
Who
good.
am I?
You love your Hunger Games, so that makes
I
sense.
love my Hunger Games. Right. I love my
Um,
bloodbath. What can I say? I'm
I
just kidding.
know. I'm like, I compare like our go-to comfort reads. Mine is like all you know, the chick lit, like the Falling for Summer, and
I even re-listened to our Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes episode.
really, oh,
Yeah, and you loved that book so much. So I was like,
that one was really good.
maybe someday she will read Sunrise on the Reaping and we can do
Probably will.
no pressure anytime soon, but
Yeah,
hopefully.
yeah, because I really did like. I think that was one of my top. I know it was your
Yeah.
top for that year, but it was pretty high up there. Like it was a really good book.
Yeah. Yeah.
I liked it.
And
So,
mainly I was re-listening to it because somewhere I thought on air we talked about how, yeah, maybe someday she'll write a backstory about Haymitch. That would be really cool. And
oh,
she did. And I
oh.
wanted to try to find it.
Did we actually say
Um,
that? Or like, did we have it on air?
not in that episode, but I'm
Mm,
wondering if we revisited it like in another
maybe.
episode or we talked about it off air,
Yeah, which is possible too.
which is unfortunate.
I bet that sounds like something you would say. Like I could totally see you saying that. I bet it happened. I'm gonna believe
I know. I just don't know where or when. But I know we talked about it, so it's cool. I'm
Yes,
like, look, we're fortune tellers. Woo.
it happened. I love it. Yay. All right. Well, that's all for today. Make sure to comment on our Instagram at Two Babes in a Book to let us know what you thought about The House of My Mother.
Make sure to tell others about the podcast. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast app because that's how people find us. Now remember, in the words of Holbrook Jackson, never put off till tomorrow the book you can read today.
Thanks, y'all. Now go stick your nose in a book.